Hi my friends, and welcome to lesson 2 of our color theory from A to Z class. If you are new and this is the first video that you've watched, you may want to go back to lesson 1 where we talk about the color wheel, just to be sure that you have a foundation for what we're going to be talking about in this lesson. And if you've already watched lesson 1 or you were at our color theory workshop, well, welcome back to you, and this is our fun class about color harmonies. I'm really excited to teach it to you. So what are color harmonies? Color harmonies are different groupings of color that all look great together. You know, I'm not a musician, but I love to listen to singers who sing in harmony. You know, like 4-part harmony, and everything is so balanced and all the notes fit together and it just sounds so wonderful when they're all blended together. Well, color harmonies are the same way. You know how if you listen to music and one person is off key and the whole thing just suddenly goes wonky and you don't want to hear it because you can tell that it's not in perfect harmony? Well, colors work that way too. So there's certain groupings of colors that look really good together, and there's certain groupings of colors that do not look good together. And you can look at it and say, something is off with this. I may not be able to figure out what it is, but it just doesn't look right. So color harmonies are learning about all the different ways, or a lot of the different ways, that we can mix colors together, and it takes some of the mystery out of it so that you have some tried and true ways to mix colors together that you won't get that horrible feeling of, oh, something's not right with this combination. We all tend to stick with the same color combinations because they look good and we're safe. But you know, how many cards can you make of the same color combination over and over? It starts to get boring, and we start wishing that we could expand those horizons, but we don't know how. So that's what this lesson is all about, and we're going to have fun. We're going to be learning about 5 types of color harmonies. The first one is the easiest to remember because it's called monochromatic color harmony, and it's a harmony that uses one main color, one hue, like we learned last time, and different shades and tints, all in that same hue, to make our palette for our card or our picture. Let's look at some examples. One thing you need to know is that all these professional designers, whether it is an interior designer or an architect or an artist, or a floral designer, or a graphic designer, all of these professionals know all this. So when you look at different color harmonies, you can look like this first one that's orange. You can look there and say, whoa, that is a monochromatic color scheme that this interior designer used. Why? Because it's one of these harmonies that you really can't go wrong with. So what did she do? She used a bright orange sofa, and then she used shades and tints of that orange to make up the rest of the room. Look at the rest of the. There's the green room, which has the same principles applied, only in green. But even here you see in the bowls, the picture of the bowls. Photographers do this all the time. They combine things together in a photograph that are going to represent a certain type of color harmony because they know in the end that their photograph will look fabulous because they've used harmony to put it together. So here you can see that in all these examples, it's a monochromatic color harmony because each one uses a main hue and different tints and shades of that hue. Awesome, right? So if you make a card, you can make it with different tints and shades. Now, I went through some of my pictures I have of some of my older cards, and I put them in here for you to see that are monochromatic. So the one on the top left is pink and different types of pinks, different shades, different tints of pink. And then we have the blue-gray one in the middle and another pink one, turquoise, and then a deeper blue. So you can see this is an easy theme to use. It's an easy harmony to use on your cards and to get really stunning results with, just staying within that one color family. And you know what else is very cool is that ALTENEW arranges their color families that way, don't they? If you have any ALTENEW inks, you'll know that they all have color families of 4 colors in one package. And that's because they have taken the tones and tints and shades of a color and have put 4 colors together that will make a monochromatic color harmony. So that makes it even easier, doesn't it? We can coordinate our colors in monochromatic shades all within one color family within the ALTENEW inks. So that's a great system that ALTENEW actually has. Okay, let's go on to the second one. This one is called Complementary color harmony. Complementary colors are directly opposite each other on the color wheel. So here I drew arrows between just some of them so you can see what they look like. So you have yellow with violet, red and green, orange and blue. And there's actually 6 pairs of complementary colors, but I thought that would be too many arrows. So just look at the examples here, and you will see the ones that are directly opposite each other. Those are complementary colors. The thing is that they are opposite colors, but somehow when you put them together, they look fabulous. Now when I say put them together, I mean put them together side by side. What you can't do with complementary colors is you can't mix them together. For instance, if you're ink blending, you don't want to take red and green and ink blend them together because they're complementary colors, because you're going to end up with a horrible brown. And that's true for all complementary colors. So when I say they look great together, what I mean is they look great together side by side on a card, not mixed together like blending ink or blending paint. So you want to be careful about that. But if you put yellow next to violet on a card, it's going to look fabulous, guaranteed, because it's a complementary color harmony. So let's take a look at some of these. Here I have examples of red and green, one from nature, but look at how the photographer put his picture together. He purposely zeroed in so you saw red and green together, and look at how fabulous that looks. In the same way, look at the interior designer below that. Now, I don't think I would go with this color scheme for my house, but even if I don't think that's my personal taste, I can look at that picture and think, wow, that pops off the screen. That looks fabulous together. Why? Because red and green are complementary colors. Let's look at some more. Oh, look at this. This is the violet and yellow combination. How awesome do those things look? I wanted to give you some examples from nature and some examples from art and some examples from photography, so you can see that these harmonies work across all these areas of artistic endeavor, of creativity. They're not just for art, or they're not just for another area. They are harmonies that work together for all creative projects. Okay, what about this one? This is blue and orange. Blue and orange. You know, I was telling everybody at the workshop, once you learn these color harmonies and you recognize them, you will never ever look at TV or an ad or a magazine ever again the same way. Because now I look at commercials on TV, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I see commercials, I say, oh my gosh, look at that. We saw an animated commercial a couple nights ago, and I don't even remember what it was for, but it was all in purple and yellow. And I thought, well, I know exactly why that graphic artist picked those colors, because he was using a complementary color harmony, and he knew that it would look great on the screen. So start thinking about things that way. So what about this one? Now, when we look at blue-green on the color wheel, because of the tints and the shades, you're going to get everything from a really, really light turquoise to a really dark teal and everything in between. But they're all blue-green. And the opposite on the color wheel, the complementary color, is red-orange. So you're going to look here at these and see that this one is even labeled on this picture. It says teal turquoise and orange rust, which is like red orange. And I actually put a picture down here of a beat up pickup truck that started out to be turquoise and ended up rusting out. But guess what? The turquoise and the rust are complementary colors. Even if they are on a ruined old truck, they still look good together, and that's because they're opposite on the color wheel. And now this one is one that I wanted to talk about for a minute, because you're thinking to yourself, well, this light pink and the light green, I don't remember seeing that on a color wheel, and why are they complementary? Here's why. Remember in lesson 1 when we talked about tints, and that tints are when you add white to a hue? And we said, oh, pink is a tint of red. Well, guess what? Mint green is a tint of green. So even though we see in these left-hand pictures of the strawberry and the room red and green bold, and we say, oh yeah, that's definitely a complementary color harmony because it's red and it's green, guess what? This pastel pink and pastel green are also complementary because they're tints of the bold red and green. So don't be fooled. It doesn't have to be the brightest of colors or the lightest of colors. It has to be that they are opposite on the color wheel. So in the last lesson, I suggested that you get that second color wheel that has the shades and the tints on it. And this is why, because you can see in the pastel colors what is opposite that color. And it's just much easier than trying to think it through in your own brain. Hopefully that makes sense. So here are some complementary color harmony cards from my past. Okay? So what do I have? I have turquoise and red orange. I have yellow and purple, blue and orange, red and green, and then the pink and green are once again kind of derivatives of the red and green. So here you can see this is what complementary color harmony looks like on a card. And to be perfectly honest with you, I would never in a million years have made that card on the upper left with the turquoise and the red-orange. I would never have put those together, except that I was starting to learn about color harmonies a year or two ago, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for the bold and do this and see what it looks like, and I loved it. But I would never, ever have done that. That was way outside of my comfort zone. But look what happened. Making turquoise leaves. Who knew that it would look so good? So this is what happens when you learn these harmonies. Your creativity gets to be expanded, and your comfort zone is expanded, and you become willing to take risks, but they're not total risks because you know that there are these harmonies that are safe to use. So we looked at monochromatic and we looked at complementary. Let's go on to the third one that's called split complementary. Okay, that's sounding kind of confusing. Let's start at the beginning. First, we find the complementary colors. So we said violet and yellow are complementary. But where does the split come in? Okay, here's where the split comes in. We start drawing that line over from violet to yellow, but part way down we split it. And instead of going straight to yellow, we go to the colors on either side of yellow. So that's yellow orange and yellow green. Okay, look at that a minute and think about it. Let's say it again. We pick out the complementary colors of violet and yellow. But instead of having the line go straight over to yellow like a complementary color, we split that other line and we go both to yellow orange and yellow green. So what does this do? This gives us 3 colors in a color harmony that work together. Now, can you memorize this? Maybe 1 or 2 of them, but you couldn't memorize all of them, and neither can I. But guess what? On the color wheels, they show you, they have actual markings to show you which colors go together in split complementary color harmony. Or you can look at this yourself. So if I said, okay, is a split complementary color harmony with green? What would I do if I'm just looking at this and I don't have a color wheel in front of me? I'd say, okay, I'm working with green. That's going to be my primary color. Now I'm going to go across to red because red is the complementary color with green. But I'm not going to use that red. Instead, I'm going to split and go on either side of the red. So my split complementary harmony would be green, red-orange, and red-violet. Wow, those are three colors I would never think of using together, but look at that. I'm telling you, if you decided to make a card and make one flower red-violet and the other one red-orange and the leaves green, it will look fabulous. I can guarantee it. It may not look what you're thinking ahead of time, like, I don't know about this, but I'm telling you, it's a guarantee looking fabulous because... Why? Because it's a split complementary color harmony. Okay, so let's look at some of these. Here's a room with blue, violet, yellow, and orange. Not something I would think about ahead of time, and I don't think I would want to live in that space. But if I liked color like that and bright colors to live in, guess what? They all look great together. Look at this one. This is pretty straightforward. Think about it. How did this artist decide to draw these apples and paint these apples with a red colander and a turquoise background? How did the artist know ahead of time this would look fabulous? Probably because they understand how split complementary color harmony works. Look at this. Two different pictures I picked out that show violet, yellow, green, and yellow, orange. Now, would you pick out those colors to use without thinking about it? Probably not. But we have a room with the violet walls, the yellow-green curtains and chair, and then they used the yellow-orange in the reflection from the light for their photograph because they knew that those colors would all look great. And the artist at the bottom, it doesn't have to be a photograph. Look at this. The artist used violet on the eggplants, yellow-green as their shadow at the bottom, and yellow-orange as the background. I mean, seriously, who knew? Well, maybe you do know, but I didn't know this, and I thought I would look at that eggplant picture and think, now that's a wild set of colors together, but somehow it all looks good. Remember how we said about music harmony? If one person is off key, you know right away there's something wrong about that. But even if you can't sing, you can listen to music that's on key, that's all in harmony, and you think, oh my gosh, that really works together. So even if I'm not a fan of violet, yellow, green, and yellow, orange, I can look at that and say, that all works together. I don't really know how, but it looks good. This is another one, orange. I put red/pink because it has both red and pink in there, and blue-green. And finally, check this out. Red, violet, yellow, and green. Again, how did that artist decide to put those colors in that picture? I'm pretty much guessing that he knew, or she knew, that this is a split complementary color harmony. Well, there you go. When I went back looking for split complementary cards for me, this was kind of telling, isn't it? They're all the same split complementary theme, but they're the same basic color harmony. So this is my challenge to myself. I'm going to go back and use one of those, like violet and yellow, green, and yellow, orange together in a card because I realized I'm lacking something here in my card design because it looks all good, but they're all the same colors. So I need to broaden my horizons and split complementary. How about you? Let's look at Triadic. That's the next one. Now, Triadic is easier to understand for me than split complementary because it's based on a triad or a triangle. The triangle is drawn between three colors that are equally spaced around the color wheel. So look at this. The primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, are a triadic harmony because they're spaced equally around. And here's another one. Violet, orange, and green. Guess what? Those are the secondary colors, aren't they? But even the tertiary colors have triadic color harmonies. Blue, green, yellow, orange, and red, violet. Now, would you think about putting those colors on a card? Maybe yes. But most likely no, in terms of just thinking, oh, I think I'm going to use blue, green, and red, violet, and yellow, orange in a card. If you didn't know this, I don't know that you'd be brave enough. I don't know that you'd want to take that risk. But look at how great it looks. And I gave you two examples. One's in fashion. Yes, fashion designers also know about these color harmonies. Just ordinary people like us don't know about these things, but these professionals all do. And so look at the interior design. Now that's an interesting dining room, but look at the colors. Blue, green, yellow, orange, red, violet, a triadic color harmony. Same thing over here, violet, orange, and green, all of the secondary colors together. Again, I don't think I would want to live in the purple, green, and orange house up there, but you can't deny that when you look at those colors together, they look fabulous. And the same color scheme is in a floral arrangement. Do I need to say it? Yes, even florists know about these color harmonies. Now you are never going to look at anything that you see out there the same, because you're going to look and say, wow, I know why they put those colors together in that floral arrangement. Amazing, isn't it? It just broadens your creativity and your horizon so much. I just can hardly wait to see what some of you put together with these kinds of colors, because it just makes everything vibrant and beautiful. And even if you use the tints, you don't have to use the bright colors. You can use a really pastel orange and a really pastel violet and a really pastel green, because they're all tints, and see what happens. And of course, red, blue, and yellow, the primary colors. They look fabulous together, and it's because they're in a triadic harmony. So I went through my cards and I found these three. I think there's more of them, but I don't know that I have photographs of them, and I've given them away. But the one on the left is a triadic harmony with the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. And I think it looks great. Of course, it's also got green and some other things in there, but primarily, if you look at the sentiment that's blue and yellow and the main flower that's red, I was using a triadic color harmony. Now, if you look at the one on the right, this is what I was talking about, being able to use tints and not just bright colors, because guess what? The one on the right is also a triadic color harmony with the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. But those cards look so different. Well, that's because they use different shades and different tints, but they're still the same basic colors. So the flowers on the right side are also primary color, triadic color harmony, but they use the pastel tints. And they still all go together, but in a different way than the darker and deeper tones. So can you see that? That's what I'm trying to say, is that you don't have to use all one color to say that it goes together. They can be different tones, different shades, different tints, but the same combinations of the color wheel work together. The middle one, I used a triadic color harmony, which is the secondary colors of orange, green, and purple, and then I added blue in. So we've got 4 already. We only have one more. We have the monochromatic, where it's all shades and tints of the one color. We have the complementary, where they're across the wheel from each other. The split complementary, and the Triadic. So what is next? Analogous. And this one's easy to figure out because all you do is choose 3 to 5 colors that are right next to each other. And using 3 colors is really good for card making because let's face it, we don't have a giant painting canvas to be on or a big picture that we're wanting to take, photograph. We're wanting to just focus on a small card. So 3 is usually pretty good for one card. So what could we use? There's green, green, and blue. Blue, violet, and violet, and so on in my examples. You just pick 3 to 5 colors that all are next to each other on the wheel, and you're going to be able to make a card where all the colors are in harmony. So here's some examples. Check this out, this wardrobe. This is an analogous color harmony because all the yellows and oranges and yellow-orange are all next to each other on the wheel. What about this one? An example from flowers. Or this one, I love these succulents. Look at that with that turquoise and the purple and the violet and the blues. All those that are together on the color wheel. Here's one with the yellows and yellow-green and green and turquoise all in a row on the color wheel. There's another wardrobe one. Blues and greens. And even fruit comes in analogous colors. Citrus fruit. Whoever thought that a picture of grapefruit and oranges and lemons would look so great? So here's some colors that I have of cards in the analogous category. So there we go. Let's review. We're done with lesson 2. Color harmonies are groups of colors that go well together and enhance your project. That's it. These are just ways of mixing color that are guaranteed to work. You don't have to memorize them. You can look at them on the color wheel. And in lesson 4, I'm going to do a walkthrough with you of 3 different sites on the internet which can help you do this automatically. You don't even have to do it manually anymore. You can go on the internet and make thousands, literally, of color palettes that will work together. But you have to understand when you go there, you need to have the foundation of understanding so that you know why the computer puts it together the way that it does. We learned 5 color harmonies, and let's remember that harmony, if you think of it like music, it means that all the pieces, all the colors go together and blend like a beautiful chorus. But if one of them is off, the whole thing has something that just doesn't feel right about it. So that's why we call these harmonies and why we want to pick our colors from them. Monochromatic, complementary, split complementary, triadic, analogous. Now there actually are more than this, but I just decided that 5 was all any person could take when they're first learning this, and I didn't want to confuse you anymore. So go back and watch this, think it through, look at your color wheel, check it out, look through Pinterest and other places where you can see photos. And by the way, in Pinterest, when you want to look at things, don't look just at card examples. Look at interior design, floral, art, paintings, and all these different things that we said that these designers know what they're talking about, even fashion, because you're going to see and recognize these color harmonies over and over and over again, and it will help you cement those in your brain so that when you're making your cards, you will have a whole big wide world of color to pick from and know that it's going to turn out great. So next time we're going to talk about color psychology. Very interesting topic. So I'll see you then. Bye.